Tired of dealing with annoying flies, fruit flies, and gnats in your home? The Zevo Flying Insect Trap is your ultimate solution. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description now to get your Zevo Flying Insect Trap on Amazon and enjoy a bug-free home today.
With Joe Biden opting out of the U.S. presidential race, but remaining on as president until the end of his term, assuming he makes it until January next year, Australia needs to prepare for what comes next. First up is a likely showdown between Vice President Kamala Harris and Republican candidate Donald Trump. Biden immediately endorsed her as his successor. Harris is therefore all but certain to claim the Democrat nomination. Having been endorsed by the outgoing president, she's odds-on under the party's delegate rules to secure Biden's nomination votes on the first round, which should be enough to win the Democrat nomination. Any other outcome would simply protract the problems of disunity Democrats have faced. After weeks of uncertainty, it would be a bold move for the Democrats to seek to ignore Biden's endorsement of Harris and use the few weeks remaining ahead of the Democrat convention to find another candidate. That would require the party's heavyweights to unite around an alternative candidate at a time when no obvious alternative presents themselves. Bill and Hillary Clinton have already endorsed Harris to run at the general election, and other senior Democrats will surely soon follow. Trump has already taken aim at Biden on his way out the door, and the Trump campaign in recent days pivoted its attack ads towards Harris in anticipation of what has now transpired. So what does the Harris-Trump showdown mean for Australia? While Biden had become a virtual sure thing to lose to Trump, Harris has a chance to claw back support amongst independents, as well as help get out the vote in America's non-compulsory voting system. But as has been well documented, her term as vice president hasn't been a popular one, and Team Trump fancies its chances of beating her at the general election. The temptation for many Australian politicians will be to weigh in, suggesting she must defeat Trump and his risky agenda for change. That is certainly the view most Labour MPs hold privately, but expressing such sentiments publicly would be a mistake in the context of the former president's surge in popularity, especially post the assassination attempt on his life. Were that to happen, and he did win a second term, you can bet Trump would become frosty towards the Albanese government. A lead indicator highlighting that Labour politicians and Australian bureaucrats will be directed to avoid entering the polarizing U.S. debate was on show this past week, as Kevin Rudd used his time in Washington to cozy up to Republicans, including Trump's VP running mate J.D. Vance. Just this morning after the Biden announcement, Labour MPs have already received talking points for any media interviews they do, to help ensure one and all are on message with what they say about the change in U.S. politics. Expect Anthony Albanese and his team to avoid offering opinions on the race that will take place between now and November's U.S. elections. The tumult of what's happening in U.S. politics might even be enough to convince a nervous PM to delay his plans for an early election, risking seeking a second term while global politics is so up in the air. Especially when you throw in today's freshwater poll putting Peter Dutton's coalition in front of Labour 51 to 49% on the two-party vote for the first time since the 2022 election. But a strategy of delaying the Australian election until the new year needs to be weighed up against the possible risks a Trump return might pose to the economy. Last week, Professor of Economics Richard Holden detailed why he thinks a Trump return might be an economic catastrophe for Australia. Albo won't want that prediction to quickly come true, putting his economic management credentials at risk. The coalition has long been closer to Republicans in Washington than Labour politicians are. If, however, Harris finds a way to claw back support and become the next U.S. president, that will be a more comfortable fit for Australia's left-of-centre government. Whether we are talking about the politics of climate change or the sort of social agenda Harris will have. But the fact remains that recent problems within the Democratic Party means that Trump is still well placed to return to the White House. So that prospect will be front of mind for policy wonks within Team Labour, as they consider how to navigate a Trump presidency in a second term, preparing for what impact a Trump return will